Well, I was doing everything I could to make my best friend happy. She got me fired. My name is Sunny. I'm 26 years old, a model, and I was betrayed in the most devastating way by the only person I ever trusted. Her name was Sophia. She was my best friend. No, not just that, she was like a sister to me. If someone had told me years ago that she'd be the one to break me, I would have laughed in their face, but betrayal doesn't always come from your enemies. It comes from those you love the most. We met in a place where no child should have to grow up, an orphanage. I still remember the day she arrived. She was quiet, pale, covered in soot. They said she'd been pulled from a burning building by a firefighter who found her barely breathing. He carried her out, his jacket wrapped around her tiny shoulders, and brought her straight to the group home. That same week, I was dropped off at the front door by my own aunt. After losing my mother at an early age, I had been living with my dad. He was my world, my only parent. But one evening, right after dinner, he clutched his chest, collapsed, and never opened his eyes again. The doctors said heart attack. I was 8. That left me with my aunt, his only sister. She took me in reluctantly. Her husband didn't want another mouth to feed. And her kids? They hated me. Behind closed doors, they bullied me, pushed me, hurt me, and she knew. She just looked the other way. One night, after a particularly bad fight, she stood in the kitchen doorway with her arms crossed and said, "I can't ruin my marriage for someone else's child." And the next morning, she left me on the steps of the orphanage. No note, no kiss goodbye, just me, alone, shivering in the rain. And that's when I met Sophia. She was small and fragile-looking, with deep brown eyes that held more pain than any child should ever carry. At night, Sophia was terrified. She couldn't sleep without the lights on. She'd toss and turn, sometimes crying out in her sleep, haunted by memories I never asked her to share. And me? I was afraid of everything during the day. Whenever someone walked too quickly toward me in the halls, I flinched. Raised voices sent me into panic. Even laughter made me nervous. I never knew if it was directed at me. But Sophia, she was my courage. At night, I'd crawl into her bed and lie beside her. We'd hold hands under the covers, our tiny fingers locked together. She said it helped her breathe better. During the day, when boys in the cafeteria tried to take my food or mock my silence, Sophia would step in. She'd plant her feet in front of me like a shield and say, "Back off. She's not alone." She never let anyone touch me. We became each other's safe place, a bond forged not by blood, but by shared loss, childhood trauma, and pure, desperate need for love. We made a promise, standing under the old willow tree in the orphanage garden. We linked pinkies and whispered words only we could hear. We'll always protect each other. Always, until the very end. I believed it, with every fiber of my soul. I believed we were sisters by choice, not circumstance. I had no idea that years later, she would be the one I'd need protection from. But before betrayal ever touched our story, we were just two orphan girls dreaming under the same broken roof. Until we were old enough to leave the orphanage, Sophia and I built our future out of fantasies and pinky promises. Every dream, every version of the future, had both of us in it. We imagined becoming actresses, sharing the stage as two leading ladies, always stealing the spotlight together. Or maybe we'd start a band, just the two of us. Sophia would sing, I'd play guitar, and we'd tour the world, our names glowing in lights. We'd wear matching outfits and sign autographs until our hands hurt. We promised we'd never let money define us. But we'd be rich, really rich. We'd fly to Italy, eat pasta in candlelit restaurants, dance barefoot in Paris, and laugh until our stomachs hurt under the Tokyo skyline. And the love story? Of course, we had that mapped out too. We would marry two handsome brothers, live in side-by-side villas, raise our kids together, build a life that felt like a forever sleepover. Our daughters would wear matching dresses. Our sons would become best friends, just like us. That was our version of happily ever after. No one else in the world mattered more to me than Sophia. She was the only person who knew what it meant to be broken and still believe in magic. And that's what made what she did so devastating. Sophia and I had made a pact. We wouldn't be adopted, not if it meant being separated. Families came to the orphanage all the time, smiling couples looking for babies to fill their perfect homes. Never teenagers, never girls like us. At first, we were hurt, then we were angry, then we were determined. We stopped hoping for someone to choose us and decided to choose ourselves. We started making beaded bracelets and necklaces after school. On weekends, we'd walk around local markets and parks, selling handmade jewelry to strangers. Sophia was a natural. She could charm anyone. I handled the designs, the colors, the packaging. We made a good team, and every dollar we earned went into a secret jar under our bunk bed. We didn't dream about being adopted anymore. We dreamed about freedom. By the time we turned 18 and left the orphanage, we had enough saved to rent a small apartment and furnish it with secondhand treasures. We made it on our own, two girls who had no one in the world except each other, and we thought nothing could ever come between us. Until one afternoon, everything shifted. We were on our way to deliver a batch of our handmade jewelry when a man suddenly stepped in front of me on the sidewalk. "What a beauty!" he exclaimed, eyes wide. "I can't stop looking at you." I froze, startled, nervous. Just like when we were kids, Sophia immediately stepped in front of me, shielding me like she always did. "Relax," the man said, holding his hands up with a charming smile. "No bad intentions. I work with a modeling agency." He pulled a glossy business card from his jacket and held it out to me. I glanced at it. Modeling agency. He leaned in slightly. "Call me. I promise, it could change your life." Then he turned and walked away. I didn't know what to say. I tucked the card into my jacket pocket, barely thinking about it. We had jewelry to deliver, money to earn, dreams to chase. I didn't need distractions. Not then, not yet. But that night, after Sophia had fallen asleep, I sat on the edge of our small bed, the warm glow of the nightlight flickering beside me. I pulled the card from my pocket and studied it under the soft yellow light. A modeling agency. What if we joined together? What if the money we earned could pay for acting school? What if we could finally get on that stage like we always dreamed? Fame, freedom, a future. It was the first time I let myself imagine that we could fast-track our way to those dreams. So early the next morning, while Sophia was still asleep, I slipped onto the tiny balcony outside our bedroom. With trembling fingers, I called the number. "We'd love to meet you," the voice on the other end said. "Can you come in this week?" A rush of adrenaline surged through me. Yes, I could. I hung up and tiptoed back inside. Sophia was in the kitchen now, preparing breakfast, humming softly as she cracked eggs into a pan. She didn't know it yet, but everything was about to change. That morning, I walked up to her with pure excitement buzzing through me. "What do you say we visit that modeling agency tomorrow?" I asked, smiling like my dream had already begun. But instead of matching my enthusiasm, Sophia hesitated. Her expression shifted, almost like something soured in her stomach. "I don't know, Sonny," she said slowly. "Do you really think you're right for that kind of thing?" I blinked. "What do you mean?" I said. She shrugged and looked away. "I mean, you're a little quiet. Kind of introverted, you know? Modeling agencies are intense. Big business. Do you think you can really handle that?" Her words hit like a slap, gentle, but sharp enough to sting. Maybe she was right. Maybe I was shy. But all I wanted, more than anything, was for my best friend to believe in me. "Yes," I said firmly. "We can make real money from this. It could change our lives." She paused, gave a little sigh, and finally nodded. "All right then," she said. "Let's go sign up tomorrow." And just like that, we walked one step closer to everything we'd ever wanted. Or so I thought. I could barely sleep that night. I was counting the hours until morning, practically vibrating with anticipation. Sophia, on the other hand, didn't seem nearly as excited. She moved slower than usual, her smile a little forced, but I ignored it. This was our big shot, and I wasn't going to let anything ruin it. By 8 a.m., I had Sophia up and dressed. We ate a quick breakfast and headed to the address on the business card. The moment we arrived, my heart skipped a beat. This wasn't just a modeling agency, it was a palace. Everything about the building screamed luxury and high fashion. Sleek glass doors, polished marble floors, luxury cars glided past like a scene from a movie. I glanced over at Sophia. Her body was stiff. She looked like she wanted to disappear. Insecurity hung on her like a second skin. But I pretended not to notice. She didn't want me to see how uncomfortable she was. So I played along. And then it happened. We hadn't even reached the front desk before 2, maybe 3 people turned and stared. One of them, a tall man in head-to-toe black, gasped, "Oh my God, we found our princess." Before I could respond, he took my hand. "Come with me, right now. She's perfect." I glanced back at Sophia, who was frozen in the middle of the lobby, eyes wide, mouth slightly open. I didn't know what to say. I didn't even have time to speak. They were already pulling me toward a private room filled with lights, mirrors, and a wall of fashion magazines. Sophia followed in silence. But the look in her eyes wasn't just shock. It was something darker. The man sitting in the oversized leather chair at the end of the room. He looked like he belonged in a movie, impeccably dressed, exuding power, clearly the boss. He stood up, eyes locked on me, and began to circle slowly, taking in my hair, my skin, my posture. "Perfect," he said, almost under his breath. "Where have you been hiding all this time?" I smiled shyly, unsure how to respond. Everything I did seemed to impress him. He clapped once, delighted. "You smile like sunshine," he said. From behind me, a voice spoke up. It was Sophia. "Her name's Sunny," she said softly. He turned to glance at her, briefly, flatly, and then turned right back to me with a dazzling grin. "Is that right, Sunny?" I nodded, cheeks warm. And just like that, everything changed. They registered me on the spot, took my measurements, snapped Polaroids, told me I'd be called in 3 days for a catalog shoot. I could hardly believe it. I'd walked in with a dream, and I was walking out with a career. But Sophia? No one had asked for her name. No one measured her. No one even looked twice. She hadn't been registered. Not even once. She pretended not to care. Outside, she smiled, congratulated me, but something about her tone didn't feel right. Her lips were curved into a grin, but her eyes didn't match. Still, I pushed the thought away. She was my best friend, the one person who had always been there. What reason would she ever have to want me to fail? At first, I didn't notice the shift, but it was there, quiet, slow, like a shadow creeping across sunlight. Sophia started making more necklaces, a lot more. She worked late into the night, beads clicking between her fingers like they were made of frustration instead of glass. And then came the little comments. "Not all of us are going to be famous like you, Sunny," she said one night, half laughing, eyes on her work. I smiled weakly, but it didn't feel like a joke. I told her gently, "Soph, the more I earn, the more we both get to live better. I'm doing this for us." She looked up sharply. "Thanks, Sunny," she said, voice tight. "You're going to save me, huh?" There was no laugh that time. I blinked, shocked, unsure what I'd done wrong. 3 days later, the morning of my big shoot, Sophia didn't even say goodbye. She was hunched over the table, focused on her beads, muttering about being too busy to talk. No good luck, no hug, nothing. At the agency, I was ushered into one of the bright white shooting rooms. A makeup artist worked on my face while the stylist handed me a sleek one-piece swimsuit. "It's for a beachwear catalog," the assistant explained. "They want fresh, real, natural beauty. And that's you." When I stepped in front of the camera for the first time, the photographer's eyes lit up. "I love it," he said. "The way you carry yourself? Stunning. A star is rising." I was nervous, stiff in my movements, but he said that made it even better. Raw, real, captivating. He snapped photo after photo, told me I had it. I was becoming someone. And somewhere deep inside, I started to wonder if Sophia resented that more than she could say. When I got home from the shoot, my heart was bursting. I couldn't wait to tell Sophia everything. The lights, the compliments, the camera flashes. It all felt like a dream. I rushed through the door and dropped my bag. Sophia, it was amazing. I gushed, practically glowing. The photographer said I had star quality. Can you believe that? She looked up from the necklace she was working on. That's nice. Just that. No hug, no smile, no celebration. She blinked slowly, said she was tired, and disappeared into her room. The distance between us started to grow after that, and I felt it, every day, like an invisible wall building brick by brick between us. I tried to make time for her, I did, but the shoots were increasing, the jobs were paying well, and I couldn't say no. I was finally getting everything we had dreamed of, but it felt like I was losing her in the process. One night, after a long week and a big paycheck, I came home beaming. Get ready, Sophia, I called out. I booked a reservation at that fancy place you love. We're celebrating tonight. She didn't smile, didn't say thank you. Instead, she stood up, eyes flashing. Did you think for 1 second about me? She snapped. We have dozens of necklaces due tomorrow, and you've done nothing, Sonny, nothing. I'm drowning here, and you're out posing in swimsuits like you're some kind of star. I stood frozen in the hallway. She wasn't done. I'm not hungry, she muttered, walking past me. I'm tired of being your shadow. Her bedroom door slammed shut behind her, and for the first time in years, I felt completely, utterly alone. That night, I stayed up making necklaces, beads, wires, clasps. I worked until the sun came up. My fingers ached, my eyes burned, but the guilt inside hurt even more. When Sophia woke up and saw the trays of finished jewelry, she paused. Her expression softened just a little. She gave me a small, tired smile. I apologized, softly, sincerely. She didn't say anything at first, but I wanted to believe that smile meant we were okay again, that maybe, just maybe, things would go back to how they used to be. Later that morning, she left to make the delivery, and I had a catalog shoot scheduled across town, different paths, same goals, or so I still wanted to believe. When I returned that evening, she was already home, and for the first time in days, she was smiling. Sonny, she called out, cheerfully, I got you something. I was thrilled. Maybe this meant we were getting back to the way we used to be. Best friends again, inseparable. She handed me a box, a pretty, ribbon-tied parcel. My heart fluttered. I opened it eagerly. Inside, there were individually wrapped food packets. Lots of them. What's this? I asked, confused but smiling. Superfoods, she said with a bright grin. Imported. All natural. The kind of stuff top models swear by. They're amazing for your skin. Total glow-up snacks. I turned one over. The ingredients list was in another language, maybe Russian or Finnish. I couldn't tell. I looked at her, hesitant. But she was Sophia. I trusted her. The more you eat, the more fat it burns, she added casually. Crazy, right? But it totally works. Everyone in Milan is using them. So I started eating them. Every day, every single day. She'd hand me 2 or 3 with my coffee, slip them in my bag before shoots. I was thankful. I thought she was supporting me. But then, something changed. I felt bloated. My face looked puffy. I told Sophia I thought I was gaining weight. Totally normal, she assured me. It's water retention. It'll flush out soon, and then boom, fat will melt. Trust me, it's part of the detox process. And I believed her. Like a fool, I kept eating them, even when I didn't want to. I was unknowingly sabotaging my own career, with the help of the one person I thought would protect it. And then, it all came crashing down. One day, I started losing jobs. Catalog shoots passed me over. Swimsuit campaigns? Out of the question. I was too soft. Not sample size. Not in shape. Agencies stopped calling. Photographers ghosted me. Finally, after yet another rejection, I showed one of the girls at the agency the so-called slimming snacks I'd been religiously eating. Her reaction? Complete horror. "Sunny, are you insane?" She nearly shouted. "These aren't slimming. They're loaded with processed starch and sugar. They've been banned in Europe. You've basically been turning your body into a fat magnet." My blood ran cold. My ears started ringing. That was the moment it hit me. Sophia had done this. On purpose, she'd fed me those damn snacks to ruin me, because I was shining, and she couldn't stand being in the shadows. I felt the rage rise inside me like a firestorm, but I held it down. I wouldn't scream. I wouldn't cry. No, I would do what she did. I would dig her grave in silence. And so I started. She'd been selling handmade jewelry online for months. Pretty, yes. Profitable? Definitely. But legal? Not quite. She wasn't paying taxes. I, on the other hand, had meticulously filed everything I'd ever earned, even when we worked together. I knew how to protect myself. I filed an anonymous report. And then I went home. Sophia was out, probably buying more beads. Perfect. I packed my things quietly, every last item. All that remained behind were unpaid utility bills and a fast-approaching rent deadline. Good luck, bestie. I left a note on the kitchen table, a single line, handwritten. "I hope you enjoy the spotlight now. It's all yours." I didn't look back, not once. But Sophia? She tried to reach me. First, it was guilt-tripping voicemails. "Sunny, you misunderstood. I was just trying to help." Then came the confessions. Through a string of text messages, she finally admitted everything. And finally, the real reason. "Can you please send something for rent? I'm drowning here. The bills are piling up." I left her on read, because I had already given her too many chances, too many pieces of my heart. Now, I was done. I'm in my new apartment, alone, but for the first time in a long time, I'm not lonely. I'm grounded, focused, emotionally independent. The silence, it doesn't scare me anymore, because I've realized something. I'm stronger than the betrayal. And that girl who once needed a friend to protect her, she protects herself now. My name is Sunny. I'm 26 years old, a model, and I was betrayed in the most devastating way, by the only person I ever trusted, and I survived. And now, I want to ask you, what do you think of my story? If you were in my shoes, what would you have done?